Welcome to Certain Point of View, your first step into a much nerdier world. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on iTunes. Just go to certainpov.com. Thanks. And now your hosts, Ben Milton and Addy Thomas.
Hey Nerdfritters, I'm Addy Thomas.
And I am Ben Milton.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Certain Point of View. We just watched Spider-Man Homecoming. Before we get to introduce who all we have here, just want to remind you can go to Patreon if you want to be a part of the podcast. And you can support us. Go to our website, certainpov.com, and you can find all sorts of fun stuff there, including the D20 episodes, all our social media, all of that. Again, certainpov.com.
And another pass.
Another pass,
Yeah,
yes, that's right.
it's all there too. Yeah,
all there. So
it's all there.
All three of our podcasts, maybe soon to be four. So yeah, all of that is on our website, certainpov.com. Today we not only have Case with us,
hey guys,
but we also have Hans with us, who's been a friend of the show for a long time.
Man, the real movie critic is here, man.
Yeah.
RealMovieCritic.com.
RealMovieCritic.com.
Nice. So we just got out of seeing Spider-Man Homecoming. This is the 6th Spider-Man movie.
Oh my God, is it seriously?
Yeah, since what, 2002 was the first one?
Who's had more movies, Spider-Man or Batman, in that period of time?
I think
and that period of time is not a
Well, it's definitely Spider-Man.
Yeah,
in that
Spider-Man.
period of time. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
Wow.
but
Unless you want to count X-Men.
yeah, but there's so many
movies.
characters in that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it
this is
doesn't quite
devoted
fit.
to one.
Just one guy.
Yeah.
One character. Yeah. Wow. It didn't feel that consider when you say that many movies, I would think
Only the first X-Men movie came out before
I'm
Spider-Man.
really sick of
Right.
Spider-Man, but this movie was a lot of fun and felt really fresh.
Yeah, for sure.
Shockingly fresh.
And I've enjoyed the first entries in each of these different movie series. So
Yeah, that's true too.
But this is the second outing we've had with this particular Spider-Man because he played a pivotal role in Civil War. So we had an idea of the style of this Spider-Man, but now we've gotten a whole movie dedicated to him. John Watts is the director. One of the screenwriters was one of the kids from Freaks and Geeks. I really enjoyed this movie. I like.
Well, that explains the teacher then.
Yes, that's
That
why.
totally explains that.
That does
Totally
100%.
explains that.
Which
Yeah,
teacher?
it was one of the
debate
really,
teacher.
Oh,
yeah.
that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it was one of the other younger kids who's one of the writers who hung out
the
with
geeks.
them.
Right.
Yeah,
One of the geeks.
yeah,
Okay,
sense.
that makes a lot of sense now.
yeah.
I liked it. What'd you think, Hans?
You know, I really enjoyed the movie. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, but I really liked it for completely different reasons this time around.
Okay.
As you said, it was fun. It was hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing at some of the things that they have done. It's definitely up to par with Guardians of the Galaxy in the hilarity level, for sure. But was it the greatest Spider-Man movie I've ever seen? I don't think so. I think I'll give that edge to Spider-Man 2, even the first Spider-Man of the Sam Raimi series. But it was still a lot of fun. At least it's better than the Amazing Spider-Man movies, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I thought the action was a little underwhelming, if you ask me. Just a little bit.
I can see that.
Yeah, I didn't love the action in this. That's an excellent criticism. J. Mike and I were sitting next to each other in the theater, and the scene where he's trying to... Spoilers, by the way. Spoilers.
Crazy amounts of spoilers. If you don't know our show, I don't know why.
Spoilers. Okay.
If you don't know, bye-bye.
Yeah, come back later.
If you're watching this live, you really have had to just watch the movie with us.
Because you're already in the second showtime if you're going to see the same thing.
Would've been
That said,
fantastic.
statistically, you probably did.
When he's when he's having the fight with Vulture on the plane, outside of the plane, and the lights are flashing.
That's the one thing
and
I
the
didn't
strobe
like.
is
It was
going.
hard to track.
Really?
I did not
It was
like
like
that
a
either.
Michael Bay sequence that I couldn't tell.
Okay,
what was happening.
whoa. It is not that bad. It is not that
I
bad.
couldn't tell what was happening. I couldn't.
It was hard to track, but
That's
it was not
true. I couldn't
Michael
tell what was
Bay
happening.
bad.
At least Michael Bay is bright and colorful. This was just dark.
Wow.
No, I dug that scene actually.
Did?
Like, part of it was because I kept on noticing how they made Michael Keaton's Vulture actually move like a vulture when he was fighting, and every time he had these crouching pounce positions, especially with the wings. I was like, those are really nice movements. Like someone actually really thought, like, what can we do to make this jet apparatus look like a vulture? And I thought those were all really nice details. And between that and then the camouflage effects that were on the plane that they were on, I thought those were all really nice visual details. And the fact that they were just sort of like bouncing around in this sort of like chaotic environment worked because that's how Spider-Man is at his weakest.
But what else did you not like? What specifically did you like about that scene?
I just had a hard time tracking it, and like I get, because we were off on the side, and so I was kind of looking at it from the side, and I think I was just struggling to make out any kind of details of what was happening. Like, I didn't catch any of the crouching stuff in that fight. I saw it in other scenes where I noticed, oh yeah, they put a lot of thought, a lot of attention into how the suit moves to make it animalistic and threatening and cool. But in that particular sequence, it was just a lot of flashing, a lot of moving, a lot of shaky cam, a lot of fast cuts, and I just, it wasn't a bad scene. I just struggled to keep up with and figure out what exactly was going on.
I agree.
In that.
And I'm with you on that one too, because I kind of zoned out a little bit during that fight. Once it got to the ground, then I was able to track it a bit more.
Right. Yeah.
But there was a lot of moments where the Vulture was kind of lost in the background for me.
Well, because he was a black figure in a black sky,
Yeah, but at the same time, you still need some sort of clarity to be able to track the action.
Yeah.
I get the aesthetic and I get the reason why, but
it wasn't the most visually stimulating thing I've seen out of a Spider-Man movie. But it wasn't bad. If that's our big complaint about the movie,
that's really my only complaint. Yeah.
Well, it's not my only complaint, but that's my big complaint. Then it's a great Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
It was a great Spider-Man movie.
I thought this was fun because it was the least self-important Spider-Man movie I've seen to date. Every single one somehow takes a character who's all about being a funny kind of everyman character and being this is the most important struggle ever. And every movie has tried to do that, and that's why you get into that spiral of Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, where it's just and it all ties back to his parents, and it all becomes a super huge thing where now this horrible debilitating disease that has led to goblins existing throughout time is going to launch robot rhinos out there because of everything comes down to this. This movie didn't have that. Finally, Spider-Man could be a lighthearted character.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that they really try to develop with the Spider-Man character is that he's actually a teenager. He's out there making stupid mistakes, and me being a PE teacher, I could understand because teenagers do stupid things, and now this guy with all his powers, he was like a teenager. He kept making mistakes. That's why it was kind of cool seeing Iron Man being his father figure, kind of.
Yeah,
a little bit. I thought that was pretty cool.
A little bit. I thought they went a little hard on that.
I think it's a natural place, though, for that character to be based on the mistakes he's made in the MCU. So I like that because it felt like this is from all indications, it seems like Spider-Man is going to be sort of the way Tony Stark drives the MCU. Spider-Man feels like he's going to be the character they pass that torch to after Infinity War.
It's not right. It feels like that's what
Kevin Feige kind of is implying. So. Knowing that, I liked that relationship a lot, and I thought it lent some strength and credibility to Spider-Man's struggles. I liked that he had a low-stakes fight, and it was about... I do like the fact that, it was a villain who was about being someone who, on the ground level, screwed over by a government contract.
Yeah.
Damage control was a great, way to bring that in as well. I don't know if they'll do more with damage control, but I'm fine if they don't necessarily.
I hope they do, because I did like that concept.
Yeah.
Weren't they supposed to make a show about that eventually, but then it got scrapped?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. So because they used it for this instead, which is great. I mean, and it'd be cool if they do, but I won't be necessarily disappointed if they don't. Either.
I don't need a show, but I would like that to be just a background detail. Also, I'd like Shield to be around, and all the things that they set up in the Marvel U. I'd like to actually come back.
But that's what I actually really enjoyed about this movie is this movie felt like it really took advantage of being part of the entire MCU, and I don't think we've seen that really to such a great extent in any other MCU movie because Guardians obviously has been in its own corner. They've done a great job with Winter Soldier developing that side of things, but this one was with the world building, with how they used Cap's cheesy PSA videos.
That was
Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Fuck,
Marry, Kill. That was so great.
It was robbers wearing Halloween
Avengers
masks.
mask,
all of those little details really worked out well. In a lot of ways, it felt like the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the way the artifacts were being used by people on the ground.
Yeah,
so
in all the best ways. The things that
That
you know,
worked for season
exactly.
1. Yeah.
Like the only thing that kept people coming back for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
for that first half of the season. Yeah. So I was really happy with that because it did finally feel like this was a universe that was a little bit more lived in, and that because I think that was always kind of one of the flaws. Like, you know, people have always complained, like the always, you know, this has always been a complaint, not just about superhero movies, but superhero storytelling in general. It's like, well, why wouldn't this character call up this person? Well, like, that was just intrinsically part of this story, so I wasn't worried about, like, okay, why wouldn't he call this character? But that was a natural part of this story, and I think that helped a lot. So
yeah, this was the long-term ramifications of a previous superhero movie being the point of this movie. Like, I mean, they didn't tie Spider-Man into like the Avengers stuff in that kind of way. Like they don't show his origin, but they still say it's a spider bite, and presumably it wasn't like an alien spider or something. But they
imply Uncle Ben is dead too.
Well, yeah, no, they set that up too. But what I'm saying is, like, his powers aren't like necessarily like as a result of like the Chitauri or like something like that. But like the world they live in, everything owes itself to the events of the Avengers movies.
Yeah.
In a way that I haven't really seen in the other Marvel movies. Like Phase 2 notably had that problem until you got to Winter Soldier. And even still, I don't really feel like we've had too many movies that have felt like the whole world has been modified by it. Like,
for
Ant-Man did a little bit, but not much.
Yeah, well, and the Iron Man movies have felt like have had ramifications of their own movies. Like Iron Man 2 has felt like an impact by Iron Man 1, but like we haven't really seen the other movies feel like, well, but obviously, you know, this isn't going to matter because Iron Man tech exists or stuff like that. Like, this is the first movie.
I think he got it in Iron Man 3 with the PTSD.
We're still talking about within the Iron Man movies.
Well,
like,
you know what? We did get a little bit in Civil War because Zemo's origin is tied to Sokovia with Age of Ultron, which was a strength of Civil War.
True.
But again, like, it's always been in little aspects. It didn't, like, a lot of it was sort of like character motivations as opposed to, again, making a universe that feels lived in. And this really felt like a universe that was lived in with a lot of the little details.
Yeah,
and
like
it was
the other
a fun,
movies haven't had like a cleanup crew who lost their job because of events related to the Avengers movie.
For sure.
And that's why they became supervillains. Like this is such a great detail for this movie.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was strong. I mean, this is one of the Marvel's strongest villains by far.
Oh yeah, can we just talk about Michael Keaton for a minute?
Yeah.
He's amazing.
He was
He's
awesome.
so good.
He was awesome.
Who
man.
would think that he would be so good as a Birdman?
Exactly. He made Vulture kind of cool.
Yeah,
Guys, so typecast right now.
Because
Well, he could
Vulture.
be a Batman.
I don't know, those wings could be multi-purpose. No, like the look was great. Like I loved his like aviator jacket. Working
Totally
with that.
fit. Yeah. Totally fit.
The like night vision goggles looking like bird's eyes were great. Again, the movements that they had when he was like in the Vulture wings, especially when he like locked on to either when about to fly off or like when he was like landing on things was great.
Well, I love the details of having the claws on his feet, so he could perch and stuff like that. I mean, there's just a lot of little details in that costume that were amazing, really, really good.
And that's before you even get into his performance. And he felt like such a great blue collar, like trying to be a hero in the mob kind of boss way.
Yeah,
like he felt like Ray Liotta's character in Goodfellas.
Yeah,
in all the best ways.
It's a very good comparison.
Yeah, his motivations made total sense. And they played out perfectly. I mean, I didn't love the end scene between him and Scorpion at the end.
The end credit scene.
Yeah. I didn't love that scene, but the rest of it I thought was pretty amazing.
See, I thought that one made sense though in the relationship that he had.
Yeah.
Well,
that we established. Like he seemed very much like I owe someone this, and also I'm never tying my family into this world.
Yeah, it makes sense, but I felt it felt unnecessary because I didn't necessarily need a tease for a movie that, I mean, the Spider-Man 2, like, what are we looking at, like 2020 for Spider-Man 2?
With Matt Gargan as Scorpion.
Yeah, like, I don't know if I need that tease just yet. Like, we got Infinity War now. Is the next, well, I mean, obviously we got Thor 3, Black Panther, but Infinity War is the next big
Spider-Man event. Yeah.
So
I think the more important part here is that this is the first time where we've really had a villain who survived a Spider-Man movie,
that's true.
and knowing his identity. And it wasn't just we have to tease the next movie. We also have to explain why Spider-Man's not just dead.
That's true.
Yeah.
He did not die by a glider to the crotch.
Exactly. Where the hell is his dick? Why do you have my naked dad and where the hell is his dick?
Peter, where's his dick?
What have you done, Peter?
No, but like we had to explain why the Vulture isn't doing stuff to like go after him. Like Vulture has a crew of bad guys who work for him who have like super weapons. Like why aren't they going after Peter Parker? Oh, because the Vulture, maybe he wants to save it for himself. Maybe he actually respects Peter for saving his life. I don't know. We actually don't know from that scene. But we at the very least know that the Vulture's not going to just like outsource this.
Yeah.
Did y'all like the twist that ends up that he's the father of the girl that Peter Parker's dating?
I thought that was fine.
Yeah,
I
thought
liked
it was
it.
fine.
I thought
I thought it was
worked.
pretty ironic and it was good. And the way how he found out about
Yeah, it
that
was
he was
fun.
Spider-Man, I thought it was pretty cool.
It did set up one of the best Michael Keaton moments, though.
Yeah.
When he like sent the daughter in, and he's like, "I'm gonna have the dad talk," and
Yeah.
it was such a perfect Michael Keaton delivery, where it's
Exactly.
like that's the goofy, and then he like just is so fucking
Turns it
creepy,
on, yeah.
and like withered as he is now.
So frightening.
Yeah, and I felt it was worth it for that scene, but the moment itself felt out of place. Like I didn't know like it didn't really, like I don't know if it didn't really feel surprising, but it felt telegraphed at that moment. But then the resulting scenes were definitely worth it. Just
Everybody
how it
acted
ends.
their ass off through that
Yeah.
that whole scene, that whole sequence.
Yeah.
Even that big Asian dude, he was hilarious.
Oh, I love
yeah.
his friend.
Ned.
Ned,
Yeah.
that was his thing. Yeah, he was.
But just the sequence of finding out that the Vulture is his homecoming date,
Yeah.
dad. Like that whole sequence of them, showing up, going in, greeted at the door, the handshake, like the tension was set up really well.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Calling him Pedro.
Yeah.
what's the name of the Tom Holland?
Tom
Yeah.
Holland,
Yeah.
He's a really good
He's a
Spider-Man.
fine
He's a
actor.
good Spider-Man.
He's a fine actor.
You know what's interesting though? This Spider-Man, because I know the Amazing Spidey movies. Well, I know there are a lot of people that don't like him. I still like the first one.
I do too.
I do too.
He was a little bit like I liked him sort of as the wisecracking. Like I liked him as Spider-Man better, and I liked Tobey Maguire better as Peter Parker. And
He just
For more thoughts, you should
he
check
cries
out
too much.
the another past episodes, both on the Amazing Spider-Man series. as well as
that's true.
Spider-Man 3.
That's true.
There you go.
Definitely.
No, but I like Tom Holland. I thought he really captures Peter Parker very well and Spider-Man.
Yeah, and and I think it helps, like, because at first I was not crazy about the idea of going, into high school Peter Parker. I wanted, let's just get older Peter Parker. He's already married. Let's get past any sort of romantic interest and, just kind of get a little bit more into the character itself. But I totally enjoyed this in that, the high school, it being a high school movie, not being a superhero origin movie. This, in some ways, this was a better heist movie for the villains than Ant-Man was. Because it was billed as a heist movie, but it wasn't really a heist movie.
You mean Ant-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, there's a lot I really enjoyed about it.
It's like a teen drama, but better story.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you, Addy, that I don't need to see Spider-Man as a teenager always. I don't like that perception, being that he can't grow up, because I always liked that Spider-Man was a character who was allowed to grow up. Like, he didn't spend that much time in high school before he got to college, and then he was in college like a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
And then he was an
He had
adult. And
jobs.
I enjoyed that. And part of that is that I came into Spider-Man with him
Through
being
that
an
process,
adult and being married, and then went back and read, and I was like, oh, he has this history to him. And it wasn't just like a fake backstory. It was actually
Perpetual second act.
And in some ways, I like Spider-Man a little bit. That's one of the things I like about his character. The first Spider-Man I ever knew, in comic strips in the newspaper, was already married to Mary Jane, and that was different from sort of the playboy aspect of a Daredevil or a Batman or every other superhero out there. Was sort of that emotional core in his family and that one piece of stability in his life. Sure, he's had, other romantic interests over the course of history as a comic book character for, over the course of his existence.
Right.
But that was one of the things I've always kind of found a little bit refreshing. So I was never crazy about that whole, what was it? There was a deal with the devil and they killed off Aunt May.
Yeah, One More Day.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. I was never crazy about all those arcs. So, it'd be nice if they eventually, if Tom Holland can grow up with this character and if they can get into
Yeah, that would be cool because like
a 20-year run like Logan.
right, like Hugh Jackman.
Well, the irony has always been that Spider-Man is like the teenage hero in a lot of ways. Like he's the first superhero that was a teenage character who wasn't a sidekick to someone else.
Yeah.
But he's also one of the few who actually grew up into a role that is an actual adult, as opposed to a big brother figure or like a child's perception of an adult.
Right.
Like that's the thing with like Superman. Like he's like the reason why like Jimmy Olsen was a viewpoint character for a long time is this is what a youth looks at Superman as. Like he's a parent, he's a big brother, he's a savior. Whereas like Spider-Man, we got to actually see him grow up, mature, like lose people, have consequences for his actions, and then get married, and then have to be like a working married husband who's not always succeeding. Like that was a really cool element of that character.
Keeps him grounded.
And I would love to see that eventually in a movie because like they keep resetting the clock and
yeah,
like, let's
just
go
as
back
he
to high
gets,
school. Come on, fuck it.
Just as he gets married, it's like, now we're gonna reboot, and and now we're gonna kill
back to
Gwen
high
Stacy.
school.
Well, and
And
part of
now
that
we're
is
back in high
that
school.
Joe Quesada's an idiot, but that's it's okay. I'm an artist. I can run the comic book company.
What did you guys think about some of the cameos?
Stanley was hilarious.
Stanley
was great.
Yeah.
I love Queens.
Donald
I'm so
Glover
happy
was-
that they were in Queens. Like,
Queens was cool.
like I'm so happy to see all of that.
See Queens, yeah. What about
I like
Donald
that
Glover?
Donald Glover was good.
You know, coming back to Queens though, I like that he was actually a neighborhood Spider-Man. Like he got
Yeah.
churros from a grandmother.
Yeah.
You know, like
Well,
that
and
kind
like
of
the
like
sandwich shop and all of that. That was great.
Yeah.
Like I would have liked to see more actual action in Queens, or like he had a couple like failed attempts at being a superhero. I would have liked to see more activity
Success.
there. Yeah, just, like maybe some growth as a hero as he is functioning.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm okay with not seeing some of that stuff in
Because the
so
movie
far,
was long.
it was already.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah,
feel
no,
its
it's true.
length a little bit in the
It's
third
true.
act. But I will say we've seen and this is why I'm also okay with not having some of the big action moments like Spider-Man 2. I love the train scene, when he gets especially the moment like he gets thrown on the ground and he's still holding on to the train and stuff like that, and there's been great moments even in the Amazing Spidey series too as far as action's concerned. So I was okay with the action kind of scaling back in favor of some of these like more sort of like smaller intimate moments being a neighborhood Spider-Man and stuff like that. So, but coming back to the cameos you were talking about, Ben. Yeah, I love Donald Glover's cameo. He was Prowler. Well, I think that was on his rap sheet.
Yeah.
And the ice cream line was definitely one of my favorites in the entire movie.
The way they had Shocker, the way they had Scorpion, those I thought were good natural fits. Like somehow they made Shocker look not ridiculous. Which,
It's impressive.
Yeah, that's very
And yet you
impressive.
recognized him as Shocker.
yeah,
like
exactly.
Yellow
It was
sleeves.
just like
two
Batroc from in Winter Soldier.
You're the crossbones.
No, not Crossbones. Batroc, the
Oh, the
beginning.
leaper.
Yeah.
Patrick Alipa.
The leaper.
Yeah, where it's like he was wearing the exact costume from the comics, but somehow it just looked like
works.
a
It looked like a
mercenary.
real something somebody would wear
Yeah.
as opposed to that costume.
Yeah.
The Captain America stuff was great.
That end credit scenes. That was
Yes,
hilarious.
if you
Oh, that
haven't
was
seen
great.
Stay for the very, very
Stay
end.
to the very end.
I will say
There's a
I-
mid credits, but that is not the end.
I really want to get a Lego Death Star now.
What?
A Lego
Death
Yeah.
Star. Come
Something
on,
that
Ben.
they can
You
only
make
do
one
because
together.
they have
You
a
could
Marvel
just drop it and do it all over
Come
again.
on.
Yeah, all right. I'm in. We'll do it.
Right
Time
here.
lapse video.
I'll have Aiden come over and help you. He loves
Yeah,
it.
then it'll never get built.
Are you kidding? That's all he'll do. He'll build it. He'll just take over.
All right.
If you have me do it, it won't get built.
That's true because you hate Legos.
I do
'Cause you're
hate Legos.
soulless.
I am soulless.
Addy,
yes.
you talked about the train sequence from Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And there's a very clear parallel scene in this movie with
the
the Staten
boat?
Island Ferry, which was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, yeah.
But the whole time I kept thinking, like, what are the stakes of this actual bit right here? Because the train, clearly they're going to die if he doesn't succeed. But I just kept thinking, like, they're going to get wet and they're going to lose their cars, but they still lost their cars anyway.
No matter
like,
what,
No matter
yeah.
what, those were gone.
I still thought it was sort of life threatening.
No, because it was a slow moving boat that was just going to sink into like autumn weather, like with other boats very close at hand to save them. It wasn't like the Titanic. Like
That's fair.
even like a lot of people fell in the water still, and there were no casualties. Like
Yeah, and you saw the boats come pretty quick. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure some people couldn't swim and drown. Maybe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would assume that if that boat had just, because when you split a boat in half, I mean, I kept thinking, I don't care how hard he's pulling it apart, the boat's in
bottom half
half.
is-
Like it should
like
sink.
It was gonna.
Yeah, this thing
the
is
fact that
going
it stayed
down.
up as it was, I was like, wait, hold on, this is not how
ridiculous.
physics work.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
a movie that's like relying a lot on science.
Yeah, in the trailer, that scene never made sense to begin with. Like I remember that scene not looking particularly interesting, and I also noticed there was a shot missing from almost every trailer, where Spider-Man's swinging through the city and Iron Man's.
Oh yeah, well
flies by him.
that broke that was not part of it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Did it? I didn't realize that.
That was an insert. As was there's a shot of Vulture like coming in through like a mezzanine of a hotel.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, both of those were done. They
Done
used
just for the
footage
trailer?
assets from other stuff to basically just create a trailer shot because they hadn't actually done the special effects yet.
So kind of like the Rogue One shot with the
Yeah,
TIE fighter that
but
everyone complains
a
about.
little different animal because they weren't even
Didn't
in a
reshoot.
position to have those shots in yet. Like they had started building the CGI sequences, but they hadn't actually like put them all together into one bit yet.
Yeah.
So basically, they just gave it to the marketing team to be like, okay, make this.
Yeah.
And it's like, where does this happen? I don't know. Make it.
Like
Like,
who cares?
Yeah.
Cares.
Pepper Potts cameo was awesome as well. No,
I don't
anybody
know
expected
about that.
You don't know?
I go
liked
back.
it.
I've been going back and forth in my head about this one. She shows up, and I'm like, oh, it's great to see Gwyneth Paltrow. I wish there was
It's the
some
first time
comment.
somebody said
Yeah,
that
I
in a
know,
while.
right?
I wish there was some comment about it though. But at the other hand, it's like, well, but
Seriously?
if she's back with Tony, I guess she would just fall into her old patterns of being like in charge of shit again. And I'm like, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
like,
because the last
should
time
there
we
be-
saw, she was like
they were
pissed at him.
breaking up.
Yeah,
like she's been gone for several movies supposedly because like they're on a break.
right. And now she's back.
There's a few continuity
engaged.
issues that could be explained
Right.
pretty easily, but like the fact that like, oh, we're moving to the upstate New York complex when this should be well after they've already set that up.
Yeah, so-
like, there was
Well,
a few months,
they
and that,
renovated it. It did look more like it was built on more.
yeah,
than
again,
we last saw
easy
it.
handways, but it was still like
Yeah.
that's a little weird. Like, it wasn't wrong. It was just like weird. Like,
Yeah, especially when it's like 8 years later from the Avengers, when it's really like 5 years later. I don't know. That confused me too. In the movie where it said it was 8 years later from
Yeah.
the Avengers.
Battlefield.
Is it
Oh,
only
from-
5?
It was really it came out in 2012. The Avengers, right?
no, it's true. Like,
Yeah. So that number really threw me off right from the beginning too.
8
So
years
it's-
would be accurate from
so
the
it's
original
in-
Iron Man, not from the Avengers.
So it's. Oh,
So it's
can't do
the
math.
future.
yeah.
Okay, we're in the future. That's cool. I'm cool with that.
Even
From
though
the
we've
Civil
already
War
seen
to-
them
This doesn't
move.
work.
Even though, yeah, because we've
Yeah,
already
none of it
seen them
works.
move to the Avengers compound.
Speaking of Civil War, I love that beginning scene of Spider-Man. And,
Oh, that was great. Yeah, the
selfieing
found footage
themselves
version of
and
it.
doing all that. Yeah, that was awesome.
Seeing Civil War from his perspective.
Yeah, and
was-
I think again, it comes back to those little touches, the things that make it more personal, and again, that's a strength of Spider-Man because he, again, he is a smaller character, and I'm enjoying the fact that they keep this character grounded because as far as a character arc, I do think this is one of the stronger character arcs. That's not just a generic origin story. That's not just sort of great power. Like with great power comes great responsibility has been the through line
Abused.
in every single Spider-Man movie and in pretty much every other superhero movie, essentially. So it was nice to see sort of, all right, what's the scale of my responsibility be more of the question rather than,
Yeah.
No, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
I think that character developed his character very well.
Yeah, and it wasn't even the generic Batman line of like, should I kill or not? Like that wasn't really a
There's
big
never
thing.
a question. He's
Yeah.
never going to do that.
Right, and that was also again great personality with having his own AI Karen
Yeah,
as
that
a
was
part
funny
of
too.
it.
Big
as
fan
well.
of Karen. I'm a
Karen
big
was
fan
cool.
of
Jennifer
Karen.
was
Connelly,
funny.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
That
That was
fun.
Jennifer
Nice to bring-
Connelly's cameo.
Yeah.
Nice to bring her back into the MCU.
One thing I liked is that this, along like Marvel movies in general, felt like let's do some shots that are very similar to comic book shots.
Yeah.
And so they did like the famous Spider-Man lifting up shit when he's been like buried under stuff.
Yeah.
And when we got to that spot, I was like, oh, we're gonna do that scene, and I realized like we haven't really done that in a Spider-Man movie yet.
Right.
Like they kind of did a nod to it in Civil War, but as far as I know, they haven't done like an actual shot just like that in a Spider-Man movie. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm actually really happy with this. I hope that they do a really close up on his face, and then when they started to do that, they then cut to like his mask floating in the water, and you got his reflection. I was like, oh my god, they've never done that in a Spider-Man movie.
That was
I've
cool.
never gotten that shot, and that's an iconic Spider-Man shot.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
And then I was like, okay, so they're gonna do like close-ups on his face, and then they're gonna like pull back and to sort of represent like getting the larger frames, because you can't do that with a movie or like the comic book frames. And then they did it exactly as I wanted, and I was just happy to see them do a very predictable but very comic book, a well executed sequence.
Yeah.
Like the only thing I could have asked for more in that is actually like higher personal stakes for Peter, like something to do with Aunt May or something to do with someone actually dying, as opposed to just the Vulture's going to steal something. But as it was, I was like, I'm so happy to get that.
I am happy to not have that, because we've seen that like with, again, that was
I don't want it to be self-important. Like that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying about this movie as opposed to other Spider-Man movies. But
But Aunt May being in danger, Mary Jane being in danger is like the go-to.
Well, or a person's death, because the Vulture's plot was to steal something from an automated plane. Like if he did nothing, the only thing that was going to happen is that a billionaire was going to lose some money.
Right. So,
and a lot of weapons.
Yeah,
and
weapons, and,
would have hit
and
the
potentially the belts of
so there would have been people who would have died. But
long-term ramifications, but not short-term
immediacy,
ones.
yes.
But I think that was what was fascinating about the difference, because like you have that Emperor Palpatine sort of moment with the Vulture kind of talking to Peter about we are the little guys keeping that are screwed by the 1% type of stuff going on with this movie. So it was nice to have that kind of differentiation. I felt that was part of sort of the understanding between him and Toomes, and why Toomes also wasn't willing to betray Peter in the prison as well. Because
he kept saying, I admire you. Like, I get it. Like, I get who you are.
Right. Yeah. So I like that it was, like, again, it's so easy to go down those stakes of like, well, this person who's close to you is in peril. And I was afraid it was going to go down that road, since he straight up threatens him as well. So I was happy to see that it was more about a debate between the two of them about what they can do, what they should do with what they have.
Here's the only reason I disagree with both of you on this, is because I'd like to see more of Marissa Tomei.
That's fair.
She as Aunt May. Win.
Yeah, but I don't need everyone commenting on it. Like,
Seriously, man.
it was like
Hot Italian mom.
Yes, she's yelling, get over it.
That I liked.
That was
that part I really
hilarious.
liked, because I love like language jokes.
Yes.
Even though I can't speak any languages, I love hearing jokes about that.
And the creepy guy in the Thai place.
Yes, that was the bigger one. Because I love that they kept pointing out that Spider-Man was a genius. Like, that was great. We don't get that in a lot of other Spider-Man movies. In some other Spider-Man movies, he has to buy from the supervillains his own webbing. But in this particular one, he got to be a genius, and it got to be representative, and that was all great. And like everything he did, he was smart. Like, he wasn't necessarily wise, but he was smart.
He was wicked smart, yeah.
Well, yeah, because it feels like the last 5 movies, his superpower has been him being emo and crying. So
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, none of that.
Yeah.
He didn't have any Spider-Man ugly cries.
That's why I
almost
Almost
when he
one.
lifts. Yeah, there's like a
Oh,
little
no,
bit
that
of
wasn't an ugly cry. That was a determined, I'm going to get through this cry. That was a Rocky
Well,
Balboa moment.
But when he's crying for
when he's
help.
about to break.
Yeah, but that was still, it worked fine.
Yeah, no, but it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't.
That was not
it
ugly
wasn't
cry. That was I'm in
meme-worthy.
pain cry. There's a difference.
I guess.
Yeah.
Ugly
Every
cry
cry
is
to
because
Ben
your
is
soul
ugly.
was broken.
Not your spine.
Not exactly.
To Ben, every cry is ugly. He still needs to open up. It's all
No,
right, Ben.
no.
It's
Sound of cry.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, guys. It's not going to happen.
Every cry is one
All right, well, I think
for
we
help.
can pretty much wrap this
I thought we were about
episode
to have an emotional breakthrough from Ben.
Dead puppies.
Nope, that's our cue, Addy. Wrap it up.
That's not going to happen until Cats and Dogs 3. That's when he finally has his emotional breakthrough.
That's true. That's true.
So thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget, you can find out all about being part of the podcast through Patreon, certainpov.com. Don't forget to check out Hans's site, Real Movie Critic. That's REAL moviecritic.com. Again, we'll post a link to it on the post for this particular episode.
Please subscribe on YouTube.
Absolutely. YouTube, all your social media will be there, and the website. Again, certainpov.com. And until next week, stay scruffy, my nerf herders.
Thanks for listening to Certain Point of View. Don't miss an episode. Just subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on iTunes. Head over to certainpov.com.